Hey there, and welcome to Exponential Next Series, A Called Generation. In this series, we are diving into the raw and real process of uncovering your calling. I'm Carrie Williams, the Executive Director of Exponential Next, and we are so grateful to have you join us for this episode. In today's conversation, we will dive into what it really looks like to embrace the power of your current position, whether it feels impressive, unnoticed, or somewhere in between. And I guarantee you that as you're listening to this, you're already placing yourself in some type of category about your current position, whether you feel great about it or whether you just feel less than or devalued in some manner. We'll also be discussing practical insights for anyone eager to make a meaningful impact where they've been placed. And so, where you are currently matters. That's the point of this conversation. And I am excited to have a dear friend, Cheryl, joining us today. From the moment that I met this woman, I felt like she was a sister and that I had known her for decades. And
That's
there's
right.
just something that I identify in her about myself. Like I don't know, there's something kindred there that it's
That's
hard to
right.
wrap our brains around, but it
That's right.
exists.
Yeah.
Cheryl is a dynamic speaker. If you've never heard her speak, I encourage you to just like hunt her down and find her and listen well. She's a podcaster, which we'll post some links in our show notes about all of these things. She's a TV host and my favorite, a justice advocate. She's the executive director of Women Speaker Collective, a worldwide organization focused on equipping, amplifying, and empowering the voices of women across the globe. And if you are not familiar with Women Speaker Collective, I strongly recommend that after this episode, you check them out. I actually was part of the very first Women Speaker Collective boot camp in
Woohoo!
California, where I met a lot of my friends on mission that now are currently like lifelong friends of mine. So, Cheryl, please introduce yourself to our listeners and share a little bit about yourself and your journey and where you're at now.
Oh my goodness, what a joy. Listen, what's up, guys? It's so good to be with you. My name is Cheryl Nembhard. I think it's going to be a great conversation. And I hope that it blesses you as the questions I've been sort of sitting with them have been blessing me. And I feel like that's kind of my jumping off point is that this whole life of mine has been a journey through failures, through mistakes, not through all the shiny, warm, fuzzy moments. I think sometimes we have that wrong. I want to right size that. Our growth, our depth, our modeling, everything that we need to learn and gain is usually gained in the hard seasons of our lives. It's the shaping moments that are gritty and feel like you want a white flag. And I've definitely been there. You're looking at someone who's had a extremely rough upbringing. My beginnings were straight out of a hard, horrible, horrific drama. But the old church would say, "But God." I found the love of God as I was witness to literally on the streets here in Toronto, Canada, which is where I'm from. And that's a whole huge story there about the consistent, persistent love of God. This person modeled the heart of Jesus before they threw scriptures. In fact, I didn't even get a scripture for months. It was just the heart of God reflected, and it won me over. It wore me down. It did all the things. I never looked back, and I developed very early a heart for the very people that I sort of had lived and been amongst. Street ministry is kind of where I started. We call it urban ministry, and that was very much my thing. At-risk youth, ex-gang members, ex-drug addicts. I call them all my exes. They were my exes. I had so many of them. But just to see their lives radically transformed for Jesus was incredible, and that kind of like led me into a place where I leaned into my gifting. I had studied theater and arts, and decided that I was going to tell their stories through theater, through film, through the arts. And so I launched a Christian theater company, like literally as I cracked 20 years old, and did that for almost 15 years of my life. And through that ministry, a ton of young people, young adults came, were changed, stayed, performed, contributed. We traveled all over the world. Here in Canada, which I ended up winning just a lot of accolades and recognitions just for that work. We were in almost almost 200 schools so far, over 90 something thousand students, doing educational theater on, drug addiction and mental health and bullying and eating disorders. I called them all the uglies. We addressed all the uglies that come after young people. And that kind of opened a door. It kind of put me on the map here in Canada for doing some justice work in a creative, sort of out of the box way, addressing hard issues through the arts. And I ended up getting an opportunity to become a host, a TV host on a television show, which I'm still a part of, 10 seasons later, going into my 11th season. And I guess the equivalent, just to kind of give you context, you've got a show called, I think, Better Together,
Mhm.
which is this incredible women's show of all these sort of like forefront women coming together talking about hard issues. That's what we have. It's called See Hear Love. And so I've been part of that for quite a while. And about 5 seasons, 5 years ish in, I really felt the call to launch my own podcast, which I did, which is On the Path with Cheryl Nembhard, and that has since become its own television show. So I am literally straddling hosting two shows at the same time, and in between that, speaking has opened up, which is kind of where I lent, kind of how I traveled and bumped into you, and my world changed. I've been a speaker for almost a decade, and always looking for tools, always looking to grow, because I think we've never arrived. People were always learning, and knew I needed to come to Exponential for some schools, for some tools and some connection and some community. And so I kind of sum up my life in these words as an elevator pitch, because my life is full. What do you do, Cheryl? Well, I speak, I create, I advocate. On the creative side, you heard all those things. On the speaking side, you know that. And the advocating looks like standing up for justice, as you said, but also advocating for women's voices. And that's where I'm really excited. I've been doing some recent work kind of at the helm of an incredible organization called Women Speakers Collective. I've been executive director for 4 years now, going on to 5. And really over there, we are dead set focused on amplifying, championing, educating, galvanizing the voices of women around the globe. So, yeah, speak, create, advocate. That's me.
I love it. And I did not know the part of your story with the creative elements and theater and those kinds of things. I also
Yay.
have that as part of my story, and the urban context also part of
That's
my story,
There
which
it
is
is.
making sense now. It's all
That's why.
making sense. Um, so today we're talking about the power of your position. And Cheryl,
Yeah.
I'm sure that you've experienced seasons where you've had to make the most of a position where you in spite of the position being something that you probably didn't love or a space that you didn't feel like you were fully using all that you had to offer. I mean, right now your plate is full. You're doing. I feel like you are maximizing the opportunities that God has put in front of you based on how He's wired you, the gifts, the talents, your experiences. But in the
Yeah,
past, it's likely that you were in spaces and places where it didn't feel like that.
exactly.
Share with us one or two of your experiences that you learned from, and what did you learn through them?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question so much. This is so good. Yeah, I definitely had seasons where I was placed in roles and positions that didn't feel like they reflected who I was or reflected what I could bring to the table. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think most of us have had a moment like that where we've held the tension of like, do they know that I'm capable of so much more? But this is sort of where we are right now, and this is where God has planted us. And I've learned a big lesson that I kind of want to unpack, and that is that it is so key that we cultivate our joy in our gifting and not in our placement.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
Yeah, we got to cultivate our joy and our gifting, our placement, because if our passion is tied to where we are, then our joy will rise and fall depending on our circumstances, depending on what's going on around us. But if our passion is tied to who God created us to be and the gifts that He's given us, then no matter where we are, no matter what's in our hand at the time, we can shine in those areas. We can rise in leadership and in gifting. We can experience the fullness of joy because our we're developing the things that God has placed in our hands, not the shiny exteriors and the packagings and the trappings. You bring the same excellence, you bring the same fire. I want you to bring the same fullness of who you are, no matter what the outside environment of your day to day looks like. I know we wrestle sometimes, and I want to speak to the person who feels unseen, undervalued. Who am I talking to? Just raise those hands. But some of my deepest learning moments, some of my richest connections, some of my best character formation moments happened in what I guess we would call like the hidden places, not being in the public eye, not having the forefront role. And I think sometimes it's important to not always be shining and to be a starter. There's something beautiful and integral and really, really molding about being on the bench for a moment. You learn so much as you're watching other things around you. And so yeah, I was thinking about this from a biblical sense. And I think my life has always been very Joseph, right? And so no matter what moment, what area, time, plight, trap that that Joseph was sent into, somehow the favor of God and the giftings of God always rose no matter where he was. And he was called to lead before he even like stepped into the palace. And even in that palace moment, he was integral, he was faithful. Even in the prison moment, he operated out of his gifting, and he was worshiping God and still, keeping his relationship, still being kind and generous with his gifts with others. And so like that is an encouragement for people. I think my takeaway is to stay faithful to what God has placed in your hand, to be joyful in the gifts and talents that you have, and to not fall into the trap of society that they can only be used to their fullest and best when they're in the front, when the light is on them, right? Don't underestimate the power of the hidden place. Don't underestimate the power of development moments, of assistant moments. These are important things, and yeah, I think it's foundational for where we want to go. I think I don't want. In fact, can I just add this? I don't want leaders on my team who have not served, who have not been benched, who have not been in the hidden place, who are the same without the title. We'll talk about that later. Who are the same, whether a hundred eyes, a thousand eyes, or just 10 eyes or pairs of eyes are on them. Those are the people I want to be around with.
Oh, that's so good. Would you say also to add to that, that on the other side of that, so coming off the bench and back into, whatever it is that somebody is invited into, that after being in those hidden places, that you find a new freedom
Mm,
is like this deep within who you are that is unshakable, that there's this freedom to be fully who you are without the pressure, the expectation, the thriving or the striving for something. It's just the freedom to be with Jesus where you're at, where he's called you, doing whatever it is he has right in front of you, and to be fully present. Would you say that that's been part of your experience?
absolutely. And I've made more impact behind closed doors, and I've made more impact when I didn't have the titles. And I've learned that pursuing those things spoke a lot to deficiencies in me.
Mm,
And this is a challenge for someone. This is going to be hard, but I'll hold your hand. Let's hold our hands together and walk through this one. Ask yourself the question, flip it. Why do you need the spotlight?
yeah.
Why does the title matter?
Mhm,
Why do you need to be seen? Why does everyone need to know you did this thing?
mhm,
I think that when you sit with those questions, what will come up are deficiencies and flaws and sort of dings in character that God is trying to fix and tweak for the next level, not as punishment, but like,
yeah.
let's work on this. Because when you get to the next level now and you function as the star that we know and God knows and you are, then the applause doesn't matter
That's
and the
right.
boos don't matter. And you're not moved and swayed by people's opinions. There's something deeper and sustaining
Mhm.
that has been developed on the inside. That's leadership, I think.
Yeah, that's so good and so, so true. Looking back, can you see in spaces and places how the positions you have held have helped shape where you are now and the unique ways in which God uses your life?
Yeah, I'd say
Mm.
looking back, I can absolutely see how each position I've held has shaped me. I think at the time, some of those roles, they didn't feel like much. They felt like, as I said, very small. Some of them were even like detours off to the left field. Like, where are we going with this? My problem was, as many can relate, is that I thought in order to move up, I had to say yes to everything.
Oh,
Right? Can we talk about it? And in
yeah.
saying yes to everything, I found myself in sort of detours away from the actual thing I was gifted in. And
Yeah.
so, like right here, not every good thing or good opportunity is a God opportunity.
Yeah.
And so not every invitation is one that you should accept. And be careful that you don't find yourself chasing after those opportunities, but that you stay your eyes fixed, as they say in the old church, stay your eyes fixed on the one. And so, yeah, I really feel like it's about posture. I feel like it's about staying teachable. It's about understanding that nothing is wasted.
Yeah.
Nothing is wasted. I feel like, Carrie, you're a poster, you're a poster girl for that one. Nothing is
That's
wasted.
right.
Everything is a building block. Everything builds and is weaving the story of who you are. And yeah, I just, I'm a posture girl. I'm not moved by the some people really present well. Let's talk about it. Some people really can present well, but the posture of their heart is just like it's so icky. And so God is in the business of doing internal work before external promotion.
That's right.
And so he will never change off of that. It is who he is, and we can push and press. But before external promotion comes, for you to stay in that space, for you to be able to hold the weight of that thing, some internal adjustments and posture corrections would have
Mhm.
had to have happened. And so that's my encouragement that nothing is wasted. The Bible says not to forsake the small things, and so that's my encouragement. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything that you said. There is nothing that is wasted, and I would say that my character has been built in those spaces and places, especially the ones that I found myself in that I didn't want to be in, or I thought,
Mm,
why am I here, God? How did we end up here? What am I doing in this space? And those are the places where God met me in ways that shaped my character, um, that I don't think would have been shaped otherwise, that I
come
would
on.
not have experienced. And then to be put in places of leadership and influence or anything along those lines, had my character not been shaped through those moments,
Mm,
I couldn't have sustained, the spaces and the places that God ended up putting me in later in life. I mean, there's just no way my character would not have held. And so it's really important to embrace where you're at. And speaking of
mm,
embracing,
yeah.
what do you think it looks like to fully embrace the idea that your role right now is actually part of your assignment from God for this moment? So,
Mm,
like, hey, where you're at, the place that you might not like, or the place that you feel like you don't fit, or you're not fully being utilized, or it doesn't speak, your love language with Jesus, however you want to word it. Um, what would you say
mm,
to people in that place that actually this might be part of the assignment that God has for you in this moment?
mm. Yeah, I would say to the person who's struggling in this particular one, like embracing where you are, embracing your role, however big or small, as an assignment. It's really about shifting the way you see that current assignment moment that you're in. I
Yeah.
want you to treat it, and just follow me for a minute. I want you to treat it as holy ground. I want you to treat it as sacred. I think that we equate anointed or God's divine favor with big. Whoever said that? It's a lie. The favor of God flows in the tiny, small things. Impact happens behind closed doors. We've already established that. So much influence and so much change can happen in what is seemingly small. So I think if we can embrace our current role as sacred, as God given, at the places and spaces that we are as holy ground, the people that are there as God's holy chosen people, that are worthy of your time and your effort just as much as the people with names and influence. And if we can shift I think if we get that first, and if we can get that really well, it will change in the frustrating moments of like, why am I here? Why am I here?
Yeah.
The questions would shift to like, okay, God, what are you doing with me in
Mm-hmm.
this moment? How can I be used in this space? In
Hmm.
what way can my gifts flourish here?
Yeah.
It shifts everything, Carrie, because and you move from like servitude and like an openness from maybe like hardened heart,
Yeah.
resentment,
Yeah.
frustration, all the, like, showing up to work like I want to just pull my hair out. That is an indication that your heart's not right. Like the posture is off. And
Mm.
so treat where you are, wherever your feet are, Moses, as holy ground. What is the assignment there? How can
Mm.
God use you there? How can your gifts flourish? Who are the people that God is bringing to your space to maybe help, heal, connect, empower, love on, all the things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about that. And then I wrote this word just so I wouldn't forget it. It's about stewardship too,
Mm.
being trusted to be faithful over the little. I'm thinking about Luke 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted to be faithful over much. And so, it's about being faithful here. It's about being a steward over the small, over the unseen things, and knowing that that is opening doors that no man can open, that God is opening because, as you said, of character. And I love that title. Yeah, titles can open doors. Wonderful. Hip hop hooray. It's character that keeps you in the room. It's integrity that keeps you seated in those great places and places you before men. And it's your heart posture that's going to make the difference wherever you are. So
Yeah. That's so
yes,
good.
steward where you are. Treat that place like holy ground, like God's holy assignment, and the people that you're with as sacred, as worthy, of God's love and attention and of yours.
Yeah. I think my probably my favorite go-to when I find myself in a place where I'm grumbling or complaining inwardly, maybe not even outwardly, but inwardly, and outwardly for sure, for certain, but
Right.
it's just the life of David.
Yeah.
Trusted as a shepherd, right? Like faithfully serving. He knew he was going to be king, but then he lived for years hiding in caves. I mean, you want to talk about being put in a situation where you're like, wait a minute, I thought my future held XYZ, and here I am running for my life, hiding for my life,
Right.
having spears thrown at me. And yet we can look at the Psalms and just see his heart posture, like you've been talking about, Cheryl. Heart
Yeah.
posture, somebody who didn't deny how he was feeling, but brought all of those feelings to the Lord very
Hmm.
honestly, very candidly, very openly, and said, man, do something with these. I want to honor you in this moment, God. And so
Come
the
on.
Psalms have always been like my go-to of like, hey, if David can cry out this way in that situation, I certainly can figure out how to be honest with God for him to take how I'm feeling about this moment and turning it into something that glorifies him in my life. Um, all right, that leads to the next question. Have you ever felt like you needed a title or platform
Mm.
to make a difference, right? So, like, even thinking about the life of David, he's thinking, I'm going to be king. Well, he was probably thinking that title, that platform was where he'd be making the biggest difference. But truthfully, that the story of David long before he became king has probably made a bigger impact and influence
Yeah.
in my life than anything after the moment. So talk about how we can challenge that belief, like how we challenge the belief that a platform or a title is the difference maker.
Yeah, this is this one's close to home for me because it's kind of like it's not kind of, it literally is the foundation that I'm building Women Speakers Collective on. We have just hundreds of women with huge callings, deep, passionate hearts, incredible gifting that are struggling or holding the tension of not being recognized or seen or placed where they know they're divinely called to be placed. And so that is a constant sort of thing that we're navigating. And so I always encourage them that titles are man made, ordination is God given. Before you are given a title that you are this thing, God must first ordain you, place the gift in you, cultivate it within you, and anoint it for service. And so the title comes from an outward recognition of, oh, you're a good communicator. We will call you this. Oh, you're excellent in this thing. We're going to promote you to this. But there has to be something on the inside that's already flourishing and growing to even be seen to be given a title. And I think we jump to title first. We somehow think that influence and impact is connected to a few words at the end of your name or a platform that you stand on, and nothing could be further from the truth. Impact doesn't happen with visibility. Impact happens with faithfulness. Impact happens with a heart of service. Impact happens with generous, open-handed leadership. Impact happens when you value the one. And so, and also, impact happens when you come into agreement. This is for someone, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but this is for someone. Impact happens when you come into agreement with who God has called you to be.
Mm. Oh,
So
that's
you
great.
gotta, yeah, I think like step one, zero, ground zero is God, you have called me to be this. I need
Mhm.
to come into alignment with that. Now, what does that mean for me in terms of study, in terms of sitting with you, time, soaking, growing, learning? Where do I go now to develop this thing? Because I'm coming into agreement. You've said evangelist, you've said speaker, you've said leader, whatever that thing is. You've given me a heart for youth, ministry, global, urban. So now, like, where do I go? You come into alignment first with that thing that God's called you to do. And then you begin to cultivate the gift. And then you develop. And then your heart posture comes in to, as you say beautifully, we've been talking about, to handle the elevation of that gift and the promotion that comes naturally out of that. People that run to title are dangerous people that haven't done the work. Can we agree on that, Carrie?
Yes, yes, 100%.
People that are like, actually call me this and that, or why don't I have this platform, or I want what you have. Don't, people want the call. They
Mhm.
don't have what it takes to sustain the cost. And
Mm.
I really, with every higher height of up the mountain, there is a cost to that call.
That's right.
And I just want to wake someone up to the reality that what you are, I almost want to say lusting after, but it might be too strong. What you are like hyper focused on
Yeah.
and desperately want and feel you need may or may not come with heavy hardship and suffering, loneliness, weight,
That's right.
overwhelm, tension. It's not all it's cracked up to be, friend.
That's right. Which leads me to,
Hello, somebody.
yeah, so this isn't actually part of the original intent of this conversation, but I feel like we need to address it
Right.
because I was probably the opposite of what we're talking about. I was the girl who knew that I was called and wanted to say no because I knew and understood the weight and the challenge and the hardship and the loneliness and the what it would require of me. And that was my wrestle of like, oh, really? Like I gotta do this? That seat. And so let's talk about that for a second, Cheryl.
Okay, listen, I was just gonna jump in, but I was like, I'm not gonna Kanye her. Kanye's like, I'm gonna let you finish, but I just wanted to say, but I wanted to say this. There was I'm now in sort of a non-denominational space, and it's very different. But when I first gave my heart to God, from the streets to this sort of church, the Lord in his wisdom knew that in order for me to be radically transformed, I needed one of those praying kind of like
Come
praying
on.
mother churches,
Oh, yeah.
where the signs and wonders and the power of God was present, and they believed in freedom and deliverance, and so I needed that. It was home, and it was my training ground.
Hmm.
And I remember one time, it was a few years in, and it was just before I got called to be part of a team to plant a church, which ended up being just a mega church here in Toronto, huge, like almost 4,000 congregants. And so I remember just before I got that call, I felt this like sort of there was a prophetic word of like you're going to be called to speak around the globe, to be a leader of leaders. And I was like, I'm good. The same thing. No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, thanks. And
Yeah.
then
I'm
and then
all
the
right.
person said the weirdest thing. They were like, it's not that you are this person, but I just hear that you are an Oprah for the kingdom. And I was
Mm.
like, please stop. And they were like
Oh,
media.
man.
Yeah, they were like media. I see television. I see, and it was so far off.
Oh.
My answer was, please tell God, no, I don't want it. It's too much. I'm not worthy of it. I don't have what it takes. Everything you've said. Do you know what that mother said to me? She said,
Mm.
that's why it has to be you.
Mm. Yes.
Because you don't want it, because you understand the heaviness, you have a reverence for the weight of the call of
That's right.
leadership. That's why God finds you worthy.
Hmm.
So to you, Carrie, it makes sense to me of why God's just elevating, because you have a holy sort of fear around it, to not to treat it well, to steward it well. It means something to you,
Hmm.
and I think that that's important. And so I encourage people
Hmm.
to step out of this rat race. There's a lie that is perpetuated from the enemy that you have to keep up. You've got to move from one thing to the next. You've got to
Yes.
grab this carrot that never ever, like the end zone keeps moving, right?
Right.
The
Yes.
finish line keeps moving.
Yeah.
You get to one thing and it's not enough. You get to another thing, it's not enough. That's because you're chasing the wrong things.
That's right.
You're not satisfied. You're not fulfilled because you have not come with your cup to be filled.
Mm. That's good.
You are chasing empty, hollow things like stuff and titles and limelight.
Mm.
Why don't you maybe pray into God, instead of being a person of title and influence? How do I be a person of great impact?
Yeah. That's
and
right.
and see if that maybe shifts something there,
Mm. That's good.
because impact is very different than
Yeah.
influence,
That's right.
and you can be incredibly impactful where you are in your local community, in your assistant role, in being part of team.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I just felt like saying that for someone.
Yeah, that's good, Cheryl. And kind of goes hand in hand with my next question for you, which is share with our listeners what can faithful leadership, no matter the position they're in, looks like in their
Mhm.
everyday context. So at school, at work, at church, at home. So you hit on that just a little bit just there.
Yeah.
But what else would you say to somebody who's listening, and just in regards to their faithfulness in that space, in their everyday context?
Yeah, I would say it's not in the grand gestures, it's in consistent,
Yeah.
daily, small acts of service.
Mhm.
So I would encourage you, faithful leadership looks like being consistent in the small things.
That's right.
Faithful leadership looks like being secure in who God has made you, because with that security, you now can become a leader that is not hoarding,
Mhm.
a leader that is not gatekeeping from others, but a leader who actually is okay with sharing
Mhm.
role, position, duties, assignments, because they're not in competition with anyone. They are
Yeah.
they are rooted and grounded in their God-given identity and calling, that sharing that role doesn't change or diminish who they are. They're not giving power away. They're not losing power. There's some weird things that people do when they feel like they're losing power, Carrie. They're
Mhm.
like,
Oh,
oh, yeah, oh, I have an idea, says the young person, and the older person's like, well, I don't know about that.
yeah,
Well, could I come on the team? Well, no, we've already, we've got we've got the right people here. Like, move over, like, make
yeah,
space for the
yes,
new ideas, and know that who you are has not changed by giving space at the table. So faithful
yeah,
leadership looks like generosity. It looks like open-handedness. It looks like making space at the table. It looks like valuing other people's voices,
that's
even
right.
above your own. It looks like security. Again, got to come back to it for someone. Security in your position in leadership. You're not, it's in, you're trusting and really clear on who you are in this relationship,
That's
going
right.
up and down for people that aren't watching, that you know that it's not connected to any title or anything. So things can shift around you, you're still called. Things
That's
can
right.
shift around you, you're still anointed to speak. You still have
Mhm.
the gift of leadership. That didn't change
Mhm.
because two other people joined the team and now
That's
have
right.
it's incredible to see how people literally break down when they feel like power is leaving them or title.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. That is probably the biggest pitfall that the enemy has set up for the church in general, I would say.
Absolutely.
Um, one more thing I'd add on to what you just said, Cheryl, is I had to learn along the way, and primarily, I think I learned this lesson the most when I was a young mom. But certainly in every season of my life, that there is this level of faithful stewardship in in the mundane.
Yes.
I think so often we overlook the mundane for like the
Hmm.
goal, the thing, the accomplishment. You even said, making room, making space at the table. So often we forget that the point is the table and the people who are there,
Mm.
their development, their relationship with Jesus, your relationship with them, walking in love, abiding in love for others, not the outcome of what that table ultimately walks away with some goal that they're going to accomplish. Because if everyone at that table gets run over in the process, then what was the point to begin with, right?
Right.
That is not, that's not biblical. Let's just say it that way. So
Yeah.
I just want to encourage somebody who's like living their life in the mundane right now, where it's like,
Ooh,
that faithfulness of the same things over
so
and over,
good.
that there is a faithfulness of stewarding it well as unto the Lord.
Yes, Carrie.
And I literally had to do this for a season, and I hate to admit it, but I'm going to because maybe it'll help somebody. I wrote on a sticky note and put it on my computer and just said, find the joy in this.
Mm.
There was a season where I went through every day and everything that I did, the mundane things from day to day, and would pause to find the joy. And the joy could have been something as simple as, I'm folding laundry. Well, I got to pick these clothes. I get to wash these clothes because I got to buy them. Like God provided in such a way, and there's a joy in that. It could be, man, I've got 500 emails to send. Well,
Yeah.
which I hate emails, by the way.
Me
I'm
too.
sorry if I'm ever delayed in emailing you back, people. Um, but the truth of the joy in that stewarding the mundane well is that I get the opportunity to connect with 500 people, whatever it is. So I
Hmm.
encourage you, find the joy in the mundane and steward it well. Don't overlook the season where all you're doing is the mundane things because it's important.
So good. Can I say one more thing real
Yeah,
quick?
please.
Oh my goodness, it just landed. It's just a quick one, but it's also one of those like I got to get it out.
Mhm.
Faithful leadership also looks like integrity.
Yeah.
And I we need to bring this up because it is sort of an area where we are bleeding out. We are there's a lot of damage and rippling effects. Let me put it this way generally because of lack of integrity in
Amen.
leadership.
Yes.
And the church is being beaten up over it. So it's about showing up, and it's about doing the right thing
Mhm.
even when no one's watching.
That's right.
And it's about doing the right thing, even if it's going to cost you.
Yes.
it's about integral living. And so leadership is not just the wowing and the bringing the big deliverable with a bang. It's about being dependable. It's about finishing the job when no one was looking. It's about giving credit where credit is due if you did not do that work.
Mhm.
It's about sharing the glory with others. It's just about doing the right thing at all time. We're constantly faced with options. Do we go down road A or road B? And
Yes.
always choosing the God honoring one, even if no one ever knows that you did that. That's
Yeah.
faithful leadership.
Yes. I love that, Cheryl. I'm glad you shared that. Okay, what's one
Hmm.
practical step? So we've talked about some things. I think we've talked about a few practicalities, but what's one practical step you recommend that people can take to steward their current influence with greater intention and integrity? So we just hit on that integrity piece. So what's one practical step that you would recommend that people can steward their current influence with greater intention and integrity?
Yeah, I think one practical step I would encourage you to do is to like sort of pause and redefine leadership right now. Ask yourself, who am I leading? Like
Mhm.
who are the people that God has put in my circle? Who are the people that I am able to pour into and make a difference with? I think when we start to see our leadership at all sort of stages of our life, it changes. Knowing that you have an opportunity right now to make impact. And I love what we had a conversation just before, the fact that I think that people think that, oh, I'm just doing this little thing. There's no way that this matters, but actually it matters because you have no idea whose life you are impacting, helping, leading, stewarding, and who they're going to be and what they're going to do for the kingdom. And so I encourage you, Proverbs 11:3 says I wanted to read this verse here, the integrity of the upright guides them. Integrity should be our compass,
Mhm.
faithfulness in small things, seeing the sacredness in the mundane and in mankind.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that those are some of those things, but also that wherever you put your feet, can I just end here too? Wherever you put your feet, that's a platform. Who told us that it has to be this geographical lie that it's got to be on a stage in front of a crowd? Who told you that?
Yeah.
Wherever you put your feet as a platform, I tell the women in my organization, they're like, I can't speak the way I want to, or I can't, give the things that God said, to share. And I'm like, do you have a phone?
Mm.
Does it work? Put it in front of you and say the thing, and
Yeah.
keep being faithful and showing up in the small platform until God expands and makes room. And I think if people understand that everything we do is ministry,
That's right. That's right.
I it would Carrie, what would the what would the church look like if
Mhm.
they understood fully that everything you do outside of the four walls, outside of seeing eyes, outside of the crowd is
Mhm.
ministry, not just to one another, but unto God, as they say
Yeah.
in the Bible? How would that change the way we live and show up, I wonder?
Yeah, that's so good. I love that you started that with saying like maybe sit down and redefine leadership. And I would say redefine ministry. And
Hmm.
one of the things that God had me do along my journey was redefine success. And so I went on a year-long journey of just digging deep around what does success mean? What for me to be successful in this season of my life, I had to redefine success and really redefining it not based on anything that I had already thought it out to be, but what the people in the world around me was trying to dictate that success was.
Right.
And so I would encourage you that, sit down, like Cheryl said, write out redefining leadership, write out redefining ministry. What is ministry to you? And redefine, help yourself by allowing God to give you space to redefine what success actually means in this season
Mm,
of life.
yeah.
Um, and not compared to anything or anyone, but what does it mean for you right now? Um, Cheryl, this has been amazing, but I want to ask, is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up that we didn't cover?
Um, I want to encourage someone out there who is feeling a bit unseen and feeling overlooked. God does his best work in the hidden places. I just actually did a quick sort of thought on this on my social media. Like there is something beautiful about this moment of waiting, this holding place, if you will, this sort of unseen place. There is so much that God is doing. So don't be frustrated. Rather change your posture.
Mm,
Not a why am I here, God? Why are you? But like how? Change the why to how. God, how can I be used in this place? How can I find joy in my gifting and not in my placement? How can I continue to cultivate a passionate heart around the people I'm serving? And how can I be a faithful leader in this
mm,
moment
mm.
until the next moment comes?
Yeah.
There's blessing in that. There's honor in that.
Mm,
There's beauty in that, and there's great impact in that.
I love that, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom and the rest of the wisdom that you shared. If people listening want to connect with you or learn more about the things that you have your hands in, how do they go about
Yes.
doing that?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Let me tell you all the things, people.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we'll put it in the show notes too. So you don't have to write
yes.
this down. You can go to the show notes. We'll have links in there for you.
Yes, I'm forever teaching from my life on my social media. Instagram is Cheryl Nembhard, with Cheryl with a C and ERYL. Might as well spell it Nembhard, N-E-M as in mother, B as in Barney, Hard Nembhard. Also, Women Speaker Collective. You can go there. That's Women with an E, Speakers with an S, Collective. I'd love to have you join me on this journey, this incredible conversation that we have that never ends. It's called On the Path. On the Path podcast is on Instagram, but it's also, you can go to my YouTube channel, just type in my name, you'll see it there. And we are speaking with incredible leaders like actors, celebrities, people in the Christian faith that we know, from Dallas Jenkins to Priscilla Shire to Natalie Runyon to like it's all for King and Country, just everyone, all the chosen cast. Like, but what I'm asking them is not not the glorious glory moments, but what did you learn in the
Mm.
moments that you wanted to white flag and didn't?
Oh, yeah.
How did God show up? And
Mm.
what are the lessons you can tell us? Like what did you learn about God and yourself in those moments?
So good. So good. I encourage you to check out that podcast. And specifically, if you're a woman or you know a woman, which is everyone listening, Women Speaker Collective has amazing resources and opportunities with their boot camp and more.
Yes.
So please check them out. Cheryl, thank you for the incredible work that you're doing for the kingdom. It's truly
Thank
a
you.
privilege to call you a friend, first and foremost, but then also to have your voice with us. And thank you all for listening. I hope that you'll join us for another episode of A Called Generation. Our hope is that these conversations encourage you, deepen your faith, and ignite meaningful dialogue in your own circles and communities. Thanks so much.